Hello and welcome to session 12 of the Laboratory Biosafety and Biosecurity Mentorship Program for Northwestern Province. So in today's session, we're going to look at training and drills. So in the previous session, that was session 11, we completed the risk assessment sessions. So we looked at the last part of the risk assessment sessions, which is the biosecurity template or biosecurity risk assessment template using the Excel sheet that we looked at. So it was a bit in parts. So if you need to watch that, or if you need to follow that, you can still rewatch the videos. So today, that is session 12, we're going to look at training and drills. So at least by the end of the session, you should be able to know the National Biosafety Training Curriculum, create a biosafety biosecurity training plan. So there's part 2 of this session. So this will be part 1. Then the part 2, we're going to look at the training plan, the Excel template. So I'm going to show you how you're supposed to fill it in and how you can plan for your trainings. Then at least you should be able to perform an in-house biosafety and biosecurity trainings, or you should be able to perform trainings in-house, that is at your own facilities as well as your institution, or if you want to create a training program for your district or province, you can be able to perform that. Then lastly, you should be able to perform a basic fire drill. So I will be, during the session, I'll just point out the key things that you'll need if you need to perform a basic fire drill for your laboratory. So the one that I'll highlight in this session is showing just how you can perform a basic fire drill in your laboratory without maybe involving the entire facility. So just something basic so that people can be aware of how they're supposed to respond at each and every particular point in case there's an emergency that is a fire-related emergency. So what's the importance of conducting trainings and drills either in your facility or your laboratory, or just personally, why is it important to conduct trainings? So one of the major importance is the protection of human health and the environment. So if you're conducting regular trainings and periodic drills, you ensure that people are well informed of the risks that they pose while working in the laboratory. Then also people will be aware of the biological agents that they are handling in the laboratory, also the different types of hazards. So if people are aware, it means that they will take extra precautions and they'll be safety cautious, and therefore there will be that protection for themselves, the public, as well as the environment. Then prevention of accidents and incidents. So if you're conducting proper training, you're going to reduce the number of incidences and accidents because people also will be aware of their surroundings. And also if you're conducting regular drills, it means that people will know how to respond just in case there's an incident or an accident in the laboratory. Then mitigation of biosecurity risks as well as biosafety risks. So it's always important to have trainings that will look at your risk assessments. So you need to have a topic that will look at biosafety risk assessment as well as biosecurity risk assessment. Then after you do your risk assessment, of course, you need to conduct your risk mitigation for those unacceptable risks. So therefore, there will be an increased mitigation of the risks, either biosafety or biosecurity in nature. Then regulatory compliance. So it's always sometimes a requirement for you as a facility, as a lab, to conduct trainings. Then also you can conduct trainings using either the WHO materials or national materials. That way you are ensuring that there's that compliance to either national or international regulations, as well as, so these regulations can be legal as well as maybe just some guidelines. Increased institutional readiness. Mostly this will apply to the drills. So if you're doing periodic drills, it means that you'll be checking how ready the laboratory staff can respond. So how ready can they, or how quickly can they respond to these incidences? Then you're also testing the system itself. Therefore, you are going to increase the readiness of an emergency response or any type of response that you may need in the laboratory. Culture of a safety or cultivation of a safety culture. If you are conducting risks on a regular basis as well, people will always have the know-how on how they are supposed to respond, how they are supposed to act, how they are supposed to conduct certain practices. That way they will know how to keep safe, and also there will be an increased security. Therefore, the culture of the facility itself will be improved as compared to a lab which is not conducting any type of trainings. Enhanced incident response and recovery. So we've already discussed it. So if you're doing drills, of course, you're going to have something which is more enhanced in how you're going to respond either to the incidents or the accidents or any emergency that may occur in your laboratory or your facility or your area in which you are doing either your trainings or your drills. So let's look at the National Biosafety and Biosecurity Training Curriculum. So here we're just going to look at the modules that you may find under the curriculum. But of course, at national level in Zambia, we do have a training program which offers basic biosafety and biosecurity trainings. Then also it offers advanced type of trainings, such as the trainer of trainers in biosafety and biosecurity. Then also from that point, you can also become a mentor in biosafety and biosecurity. So there is also a mentorship training package in the training program at national level. So at the moment, the highest level you can reach at national level is the mentorship level. Of course, at regional level, you can now do other professional type of trainings, which will certify you becoming either a biosafety, biosecurity professional or a biosafety, biosecurity person who contributes towards the growth of biosafety and biosecurity at large. So here we're just going to look at the different modules that are in the National Biosafety Biosecurity Training Program. Then maybe we'll try to see how best can you also use this type of modules or materials to enhance your facility biosafety biosecurity training program. So the training program has a total of 17 modules. So these are the basic training program. You are going to have like 17 modules. But then if you're doing an advanced level type of training, such as the TOT and maybe the mentorship. So for the TOT, there will be some additional modules that you are supposed to do. So these modules will mostly give you information on how you can be a good trainer of trainer. So you're going to do some modules that are mostly aligned to teaching the teaching methodology. So there'll be like some modules that will be added on that will teach you on how you can become a good trainer. Then for the mentorship, there are other modules that are part of that, which are the mentorship modules. So of course the teaching methodology is also part of the mentorship, but then there's also an additional component which just looks at how can you become a good mentor. So what are the aspects, what are the attributes of a good mentor? So there are other particular modules or topics that will be added on to your 17 modules. Then also, after you do you complete the modules, for the trainer of trainers, you're supposed to do now what we call a teach back. So you teach back the people that are training you so that they see if you actually are able to teach back or to conduct a training. Then for the mentorship, there's a practical session where you're supposed to do some training assignments as well as mentorship or implementation assignments. So you are either given to mentor your own facility, or you'll be given another facility, and through the reports that you'll be sending, you will be able to, or at central level, you can be certified as a mentor after you pass the assignments, or after you pass or whatever will follow after the practical sessions or the practical implementation of the mentorship program. So what are the modules? So the modules, I'll describe them on how you can structure them from the first module up to the last module. So we're going to have the overview of biosafety and biosecurity, which will give you an overview of the biosafety and biosecurity management. Then policies and regulations in biorisk management. Then you have biosafety and biosecurity assessment. Then biorisk mitigation strategies, biocontainment facility features, engineering controls, administrative controls, good laboratory work practice, personal protective equipment, occupational health and safety, introduction to biosecurity, field biosecurity, bioethics, incident management, waste management, shipping infectious material, and 17, which is audits and inspection for biorisk performance. So these are the modules that are part of the National Biosafety and Biosecurity Training curriculum. Of course, they've been arranged, or they've been designed to follow the assessment mitigation performance model. So there are some that will look at mostly the assessment, then the majority will look at the mitigation, and others will look at the performance part of your management system. So let's look at how to conduct the training. So what materials do you need? What is the duration for some of these materials and the like? And also, what type of method are you going to use for delivery of your trainings? So for the materials, basically you may decide to use what you need, and this will be dependent on what is your outcome. So what are you trying to communicate? So do you want people to have the know-how or the knowledge on the basic biorisk management or basic biorisk? So in this case, you may need to get some resource materials from the National Biosafety Biosecurity training program. So from the 17 modules, you may decide maybe to train people in all the 17, or you may pick which ones you feel may be helpful in improving your overall biorisk management system. So another resource document or material that you may use for trainings is your manuals. So if you have a manual, you can create, or you can have a training just on your manual. So you can look at what is the manual basically. Then after that, you can try to train people on the facility manual that you have. That way, after you are done with the training, people will know what a manual is, and also they will know what contents are in the facility manual. So while structuring this training, you make sure that you look at the manual clause by clause or section by section. That way you get feedback from the participants or the laboratory staff on each particular part of the manual. And after you're done, of course, you need to make sure that people sign that they were oriented or they were trained on the use of the manual and on just the basic information on that particular manual. Additionally, then other documents that may be facility level are the SOPs. So if you have 20 SOPs in your system, you need to train people on all the 20 SOPs. So if you are creating a training program, make sure that you include the manual, like we earlier said. So include the manual, then also you need to include all the SOPs. So of course you need to structure them in such a way that they are done maybe over a span of weeks, maybe months, or maybe it can take you maybe even a year, depending on your target or your goal that you want to achieve by the end of the year. Then you can also have trainings on your forms. So if you have 20 forms, you can incorporate these forms in the SOP trainings, because you'll find that maybe the forms will be mentioned in the SOPs. So if you reach a part in the SOP where you've described how you're supposed to conduct a procedure using a form, you can now go to that form and do a demonstration on how to use that form. That way you've combined the SOP and form, and not just having a separate training for the forms after you do your SOP training. Then you can also combine the manual, SOP, and forms in one training. So as you are doing your manual training, there are some SOPs that are mentioned in your manual. So once you mention that SOP, maybe if it's the first time you're mentioning the SOP, you can actually go to that SOP and train people on the SOP before you proceed with the manual. Then in the SOP, if you find that there are some forms that are mentioned, you also go to those forms. That way, by the time you are done with the manual, you will be done with all the mentioned SOPs in that manual. Then also you will be done with all the forms that will be required for the SOPs. So you may indicate, or you may indicate the SOPs and the forms in your training plan, but then immediately you are done with the SOP, you tick or you indicate that you've completed the training for that particular SOP or the form, but then maybe you just did it while you are doing your manual training. So you can say maybe the manual training will take 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, but in that 2 to 3 weeks, you are also covering the SOPs, then you're also covering the forms. So you're combining a training where you're looking at 3 different document types, but then by the end of the manual training, you would have covered all the SOPs and the forms. Then if you have any job aids that may be mentioned in the manual, you can also try to do them in advance, or do a quick orientation or training during the manual training. Or if they're not mentioned, you can do them separately after you're done maybe with the manual. Or if there are any SOPs that are not mentioned in the manual, you can conduct training separately. And if there are forms that are standalone, where they are not mentioned in any SOP, but they're just helping maybe to record certain aspects that may not be in an SOP, you can create or you can conduct the training separately. Then if you have any plans that you've created, so these plans can either be your biosafety, biosecurity plan, it can be your biosecurity plan just alone, or you can have your quality management system plan, or in this case you have your training plan. You can have a training just on your plans. That way people will be aware of what you've planned and how and when are you going to conduct what is in the plan. It's easier to follow because people will know what is happening at each particular point. So sometimes it's important to conduct trainings just on your plan. If you have any signage that you need explaining on, or you need people to be trained on, you're supposed to conduct a training. Then another type of plan that would require you to do a training is maybe your biosafety and biosecurity floor plan. So if you have a floor plan or emergency evacuation floor plan, you must always conduct a training so that people know how you've positioned, or where have you positioned certain biosafety equipment or security equipment. And if there's any evacuation that is supposed to be done at any particular point, they will be able to know how they are supposed to evacuate when they are in a certain room or area and the like. So it's always important to have such trainings so that people are informed and they can respond accordingly because they will know how to respond. Methods of delivery. So the methods of delivery will depend on what you want to achieve. So there's certain trainings where a PowerPoint presentation is enough. But there are certain other types of trainings where maybe the PowerPoint may not be sufficient. You may need to demonstrate how to maybe conduct a process or a procedure. Therefore, the PowerPoint won't be sufficient to achieve your training goal. So you may need to add on to your PowerPoint. Then there are certain moments where creating a PowerPoint may not be the good source, or may not be a good method. All you need maybe is to train people maybe in the SOP or the manual. That way you can just project the manual or project the SOP, and then you can run people through the SOP. Or you can just get the physical copies of the manual or the SOP, then you run people through the physical copies. So it will depend on your circumstances as well, because it's not all the time that you have maybe a projector or a laptop or a screen where you can present your PowerPoints, and therefore you may need to print out. If you have a printer, of course, as well, you may need to print out your training material, and then people are able to follow through the training. Or if you do not have a printer, but then maybe people have cell phones, you can send the training material to them through the cell phones, and then they can access or open the documents or PowerPoints on their phones as you are conducting the training. That way, it's easier for them to follow through. So it will depend on the circumstance, what do you want to achieve, and what sort of training is it? Is it hands-on type of training, or is it just a theoretical type of training where you're just teaching theories and people are following through the theories? Yeah. Duration. So for the duration, like I've indicated, it depends. So you cannot have fixed durations, unfortunately, for your trainings. So it depends. So what does it depend on? So it depends on the type of training you're conducting. So that's one, the type of training. Then also, how quickly do you want the message to be delivered? Is it something that can be delivered over a long period of time, or maybe you need some implementation in a very short period of time? So it also depends on your current circumstance. So in addition to the current circumstance is also availability of the lab staff. So there are certain moments where you see that people may be available in the next, let's say, 2 weeks. like the majority of the people will be available in the next 2 weeks. Therefore, how you structure the trainings, you maybe put or structure the trainings with shorter durations. That way, you cover a lot of topics in a very short period of time. But then there are certain moments where maybe people are not around, and therefore you need to space out your trainings, and maybe your trainings will span maybe from a week to 2 weeks to 3 weeks, other times maybe even a month, just to complete certain trainings. Yeah, so for the training where maybe you want to deliver, you want to do a training using the 17 modules from the biosafety, biosecurity training program. Of course, you need to mold them in such a way that they speak to what you're doing in the facility and not just using the actual modules to deliver your message. So if you want to do those trainings, so those trainings are interconnected. So they are the type of trainings where what you cover today will speak to what you cover tomorrow and what you cover the day after. So such types of trainings, you don't need to space them out over a long period of time. So you don't need to say maybe in a week you do one module, the other week you do one module, which means you finish the modules by 3 or so months because you're doing one module per week. So by the time you are reaching module 5, people would have forgotten what was in module 2 because you are taking like weeks in between the trainings. So mostly the best way to deliver such is you do the trainings in such a way that they follow each other quickly. So maybe in 1 week you can do 3 modules, and then in the other week you do 3 or 4 modules, and then the other week you do so many modules. So you do maybe you conduct the training in the period of 1 month to 2 months or less, but mostly 1 month. Then you do all the modules in that space where you're doing every week, you're doing 3 or 4 modules. That way, people will follow through and they'll be able to relate to the previous module and they'll appreciate it more. Of course, it's a bit strenuous, especially because you are doing trainings maybe every day. But then if you think about it, maybe in a month or less than a month, you will be done with the trainings and you would document and indicate somewhere to say you've done the trainings on the basics of biorisk in a period of, let's say, 3 weeks to 4 weeks. And then after that, you can space out now the other trainings that are document related. For example, the manual, you can do the manual trainings in 3 weeks, that's fine, or 2 weeks. That's if you are incorporating the manual trainings with the SOP and forms. You can do that in 1 month or 2 months, that's fine. Because by the time you are done, by the time it's like 2 to 3 months, you would have done your manual training, you would have done your SOPs trainings, you would have done the forms as well as any supporting documents that may be mentioned in your manual. But then if you do not want to do it in that manner, but you just want to do the manual trainings alone and the SOP trainings alone, you can actually plan out your SOPs. Maybe in 1 month you're doing 3 SOPs, so you just say 3 SOPs in 1 month. In the other month, 3 SOPs. In the other month, 3 SOPs. That way you take, let's say, 5 to 6 months to complete your SOPs, but also we are looking at the forms. That's also fine because most likely the SOPs are not sometimes connected. They'll be like standalone. And if you do it like 1 in a month or 2 in a month, that's fine. At least you would have conducted a training where people know how to use the documents. So that's how you can plan. So it would depend on a lot of factors and also the type of what do you want to achieve, what's the target audience and all that. So you need to factor in a lot before you look at the duration of each of the trainings. So let's just look at the steps for conducting a fire drill. So if you want to conduct a basic fire drill in your laboratory, so the basic things you need to do while it's conducting a fire drill is that one, you need to sound the alarm. So if you do not have an alarm system at this point, you need to create one, or you need to put one in place. So an alarm system can be electronic, where you have a button which you are pressing, then the alarm sounds, or you can have a whistle which you blow. When you blow the whistle, then you are alerting people that there is danger where you are. Then also you can have a bell. So if you have a bell, you can just ring the bell, and then people will be able to know that there is a danger. If you do not have these, you can use your voice. So even the voice can be an alarm. So you need to shout, whether if it's a fire or spill, you just constantly shout out loud to say fire. That way you are sounding the alarm, or you are letting people of danger around the laboratory. Then after you sound the alarm, you evacuate the building. So you evacuate the building calmly but quickly. So in a calm way, but then you need to evacuate quickly. Let's say in less than 5 minutes, you need to have completely evacuated the building. Of course, there are certain things you don't need to start doing while it's evacuating. So if you're evacuating, you don't need to start looking for your phones, or you want to go and collect your bags and all that. So while you're doing the fire drill, make sure that if people are evacuating, they leave whatever is not around them, and they just evacuate the building. Then after you evacuate, you meet at a designated emergency assembly point. So if you have a designated emergency assembly point, you head to that point and you assemble, or you meet at that particular point. Then after you meet, you do a head count. So you conduct a head count. So either you as a safety officer, or any person that you've defined to be the person who's going to be in charge during the emergency, you do a head count, or anyone who feels that they can do the head count, you do the head count. So the head count is important because you want to see whether or not someone was left behind. So if someone was left behind, so you don't need to go back for them. You just want to know if someone was left behind, because when the fire people arrive, so if it's a large fire, you need to now call the fire people. So this is a procedure if there is an actual fire. So you need to call the fire department. Then once they arrive, you inform them. You will inform them that someone was left behind. So you don't need to go back for that particular person. But then during the fire drill, you're just trying to see if someone was left behind. So as we know, a drill is like a simulation. So after you do the head count, then you know who was left behind and if everyone was safe. Okay, so those are the basic steps to conducting the fire drill. So you just sound the alarm, evacuate, meet at the emergency assembly point, then you conduct the head count. Then you need to document whatever happened during this entire period. That way you will know if people responded the way they were supposed to respond, and through that you'll be able now to put up mitigations to make sure that people respond the way they're supposed to respond, just in case there's an actual emergency or an actual incident. You will know that they will respond accordingly, and no one will be harmed during the process. Okay, so now how are we supposed to implement the trainings as well as the drills? So this is how we'll implement the trainings. So for the trainings, the first thing that you'll be expected to do is you need to create a biosafety and biosecurity training plan or schedule. So in this plan or schedule, you indicate the topics that you are supposed to train people on. Then after that, you need to indicate who is going to perform those particular trainings. Then also when are you performing these trainings. Then lastly, you put the status of whether or not you performed the training. So I'm going to show you in part 2 of this session how you are supposed to create your training plan. Then after you create the training plan, you need now to hold the trainings according to the plan. So make sure you stick to the plan so that you don't just wake up one day and say we are going to have a training, but then if you plan it nicely and people know that on this particular day there's going to be this training, make sure that you do it on that particular day. And also consistency. So if you plan something, always be consistent to conduct those trainings on those particular day. That way you show that the program is serious and it's not something you just dream of anytime you just want to hold trainings. But then if you're consistent to the plan, people will know the seriousness about the plan and will be able to support the plan because they will understand why we are doing the trainings. Then after the training is done, make sure that people sign the event attendance log. So if people sign the event attendance log, this is evidence to say the training was conducted and also people actually attended. So you are also showing evidence of training the people in this particular topic. So always make people sign the event attendance log. Then you need to also conduct competency assessment. So this can be done in form of a quiz, which is a post quiz. So after the training is done, you just make people write a very short quiz. That way you show evidence that people understood what they were trained on and not just doing the trainings without knowing what you want to achieve. So if you conduct that quiz, then you show that people actually understood. So in your competency assessment SOP, you need to indicate what is the pass mark for each of these trainings. So are you saying everyone that got above 80% can be considered competent, to say they understood, and some people that are getting maybe below 80, then they didn't get the information. So you need to define in your competency assessment procedure. So for the initial phases of the training or for this mentorship program, we are going to use the quizzes as a form of competency assessment. Then later on, as the program grows, we will introduce other types of competency assessments, such as maybe using the forms that will indicate how people performed, or if you do the procedure type of trainings, you will now do the competency in relation to the procedure. So this is where now we are giving them a theory way of doing the or a theory assessment on how the procedure is supposed to be done. Then after that, you allow them do a practical process of the procedure, and then you assess whether or not they did the actual thing that they're supposed to do, theoretically as well as practical. Then after you're done with the plan, after you conduct the trainings and after you do your competence assessment, whatever records that will be generated from the planning, the training itself and the competency is supposed to be filed on the Google Drive folder. So in your Google Drive folder, your biosafety and biosecurity Google Drive folder, you should have a subfolder titled trainings. So in that folder, you are supposed to now upload your plan, that is your training plan for biosafety and biosecurity. Then whenever you are done with the trainings, you need to capture the attendance log, and then after you capture it, you scan it nicely into a PDF. Then that PDF, you need to upload it on your Google Drive folder. If there are any other records that are generated apart from the event attendance log during the training itself, capture those documents or those records and upload them to the Google Drive folder. If you conduct competency assessment, you need to compile the results for all the people that were in attendance. Then after you compile the results, you also scan them nicely and upload them to the Google Drive folder. Or if you're using a Google Forms, all you need to do is just make sure that you extract the Excel part of the quiz. So there's always an Excel that can be extracted. Then if you extract that Excel, you can now upload it on the Google Drive folder. So what we want is we need to create some form of evidence that you actually planned, you actually conducted the trainings. Then also we need to have records of the competency so that whenever maybe auditors come in, you can show them to say we planned for trainings to happen, and from what we planned, these are the trainings that we've done. So you need to have records for that. And then for all the trainings that we did, these are the competency assessments. That way you're creating a system that is at least meeting some form of compliance in terms of planning, actually implementing, and also showing evidence of implementation. So for the drills, you need to create your drill schedule. So this drill schedule will be or needs to align to what you mentioned in the manual. So if you said you'll be doing drills every quarter, or is it twice in a year? So the schedule will show that you're doing the drills every quarter, and also maybe in the maybe how often are you doing it in that particular year. So of course, after you conduct the drill, you need to indicate whether you did it. So you indicate either completed or not done or pending. Then do not disclose the schedule to the laboratory staff. That way is people will respond the way they would respond in case there is an actual emergency. So for the initial drill, you may inform the laboratory staff because maybe you just did maybe a training on how to do a fire drill, and therefore you may inform them to say we are going to have a drill next week on such and such a day. But then for the other drills that will follow after that, it's always important that you just monitor how people will respond without actually informing them that there's going to be a drill on this particular day. That way you are testing a system and also you are testing whether or not the mitigations that you trained people on will work or not. And if they are not working, you then put up or you strengthen how people respond. So you either retrain people or you put up other types of mitigations that will make sure that people actually respond the way they are supposed to respond. Then perform the drills according to the plan, of course. Then whenever you perform the drill, if there were people around and if people evacuated and all that, maybe you had 5 people present, you need to make them sign the event attendance log. So that way you will show evidence that people actually did the evacuation. So on the event attendance log, especially the ones that maybe I shared during the course of the training program or the mentorship program. So it has a part where you're supposed to indicate the duration of the event. So if you conduct a fire drill, under the duration, you need to indicate a time of less than 10 to 15 minutes. So if you said the drill started at 12 hours, you should indicate that it ended at least by 12:10 or 12:15. That way, you show that people actually evacuated within 10 to 15 minutes. Because if you say people, you started the drill maybe at 12 hours and then it ended at 13 hours, it means that you took 1 hour for that particular drill. So now what were you doing for 1 hour? So if people need to evacuate a place where there's fire for, and then they take like 1 hour, it means that by the time it's 1 hour, all of you would have been in that particular building. So at least 10 to 15 minutes, the drill should be done. You should have evacuated, did your head count, and you'll know the next course of action. Then also, you need to generate the after action review report. So after the drill, you need to create a report that will indicate how when the drill was done, how many people were present, how did they respond, and also if they responded the way they were supposed to respond, you add any comments, and if they didn't respond the way they were supposed to respond, you add comments so that you propose some either preventive or corrective action. That way, you will show evidence that you are actually monitoring the system, and also you're doing what is known as continuous improvement to your system. Then just like the way we did it for the trainings, whenever you generate any record during the drills, you need to scan those copies nicely. Then after that, you upload them on the Google Drive folder. So you can upload these in the drills folder. So if there's no drills folder, you can include the drills folder in the training folder. So basically, this is how we're going to implement our trainings as well as our drills. So yeah, so basically that's that on the PowerPoint part of the trainings and drills. So since this is not a live session, you can leave comments or questions in the comment section. So in part 2, I'll show you how you are supposed to fill in your biosafety and biosecurity training plan or schedule. So I'll show you just a template of a training plan that you can use to plan for your trainings.